In the previous capsule, I discussed with whom the keto diet approach is appropriate. Those who have a higher level of social anxiety, have lower GABA, huge mood swings, who take everything personal, who have a mind racing all the time, creating scenarios in their mind, but emotional scenarios, then the keto diet might actually be good for them. Those who have huge sugar cravings, because that reason can also help. Now I'm going to cover for whom the keto diet can be a decent tool, but mostly as a short to mid-term solution, maybe not as a long-term approach. I'm talking about people who need variation, who have a lot of stress, but they have a moderate amount of anxiety, okay? In the neurotyping system, we talk about the type 2As. People who are great mimickers, people who need the approval of others to feel good, people who are subject to changing when they're under stress. Now, these people will have moderate GABA, moderate serotonin. Now, here's the thing with the keto diet. As I explained in the first capsule, the keto diet will increase GABA, decreasing glutamate, decreasing anxiety, making you feel better. The problem is that keto dieting will also decrease serotonin, which is the other neurotransmitter responsible for anxiety control. So if you're someone with high serotonin, you can do pretty good on keto. The natural athlete, the person who does great under pressure, naturally skilled, learn new movement fairly easily, who sleeps very well. High serotonin. Now these people, explosive athletes, those who are very good at adapting to various situations. Okay, so when you throw a wrench at them, they can easily adapt. When life changes suddenly, they can easily adapt. That is a sign of high serotonin. Now, these people, because they have plenty of serotonin, if they go keto, even if they decrease serotonin gradually, they still function pretty well because they have an ample reserve of it, okay? But these people are fairly rare. It's like 10 to 14% of the population. Very confident, very driven, goal-driven, need to be the leader. These people will actually do pretty well on keto. Might not be optimal, but they can actually do pretty well on it. Now, another thing to consider with the keto diet is the impact of keto dieting on adrenaline production. Keto dieting will increase both dopamine and adrenaline level, basically amping your brain up for most of the day. I mean, when I train high-level athletes, I don't have them eat any carbs prior to their training because that maximizes dopamine. Eating proteins and fat maximizes dopamine, amping their brain up. Dopamine and adrenaline. Now, keto dieting, because you're eating more proteins and more fats and less carbs, you favor the absorption of tyrosine, which will increase the production of dopamine, which is an excitatory neurotransmitter. And dopamine, on top of being the pleasure neurotransmitter, increasing motivation, increasing drive, increasing motivation, will also increase adrenaline, which increases energy and motivation, because it's the precursor to adrenaline. Now, where the keto increases adrenaline even more is by increasing cortisol level. Cortisol's number one function is maintaining a stable blood sugar level. It increases blood sugar level along with glucagon when it's too low. So when you don't eat any carbs, your baseline cortisol level will be higher. Now, cortisol increases the conversion of noradrenaline into adrenaline. So basically, eating a keto diet will increase dopamine level and will also increase adrenaline level, making you more motivated, amped up, driven, energetic. That's why a lot of people, they go on a keto diet and boom, they feel energetic, they feel great. You even see some of them on stage during presentation or on Facebook videos jumping around like they're on speeds. Well, they actually might feel like they're on speed because of the dopamine and adrenaline increase. Now, the problem is that if you have the brain chemistry that cannot control activation, they get over amped up. Instead of being amped up, they become anxious. That's a problem. But for now, understand that people who need dopamine, who need adrenaline to feel good, feel driven, then they will perform pretty well on a keto diet. But since it decreases serotonin, because they are overly amping themselves up, they might deplete dopamine. That's why these people, the keto diet might not be a great long-term approach, because if they overproduce adrenaline, it could desensitize their receptors over the long run, deplete their serotonin, and then they develop anxiety issues. So for these people, 6 to 8, maybe up to 12 weeks of keto dieting will work pretty well, but it will not be a long-term approach. So if you're someone who needs adrenaline to feel great, who have a problem getting amped up in the morning, who are a lot more chill than anything, and you handle stress very well and like changes, then keto dieting might provide a performance benefit, neurologically speaking, maybe not physically, but neurologically speaking, for 6 to 8 weeks. After that, you might actually start to have the opposite effect. But these people, because they feel so energetic at first, they can become like in love with keto dieting, and they don't notice the performance decrease after 8 weeks or so. But their brain chemistry will start to evolve in the wrong way by decreasing serotonin too much. So if you're someone who needs adrenaline, then being keto for a short period of time to increase focus, increase drive can work. But it can also have the downside of backfiring over the long run, because if you produce too much adrenaline for too long, your receptors will become resistant, and then they stop responding to your own adrenaline, and it becomes really hard to be energetic, and you become basically shut down. So for these people, short-term ketogenic approach can help, but long-term might actually lead to depression-like symptoms and a decrease in focus and performance. So these people, short-term, mid-term approach, great, but not for the long-term. Stay tuned for part number 3, where I will discuss examples of people for whom the keto diet is to be avoided at all costs.